What's happening, y'all? Full Ass Speaks back, man. Another video Sunday morning on the way to the gym. Got to do that, man. No excuses. Get up and do that. CT Fletcher says that's still your MF set. So anyway, yeah, I've been following this this situation that has been brought up lately. LeBron James on his I don't know what you call it, the tour of vengeance, versus the old school, those who came before him. Which y'all know how I feel about that from the rip if you follow the channel at all. Discussed because the guys brought up, the questioner brought up this supposed run that he had against some vets. I believe they were in Chicago. They would get together and run. I think it's Tim Hardaway and them. But Antwan Walker was there. Ron Artest was there. MJ was there, supposedly, and some other players, NBA players. And LeBron James came through. And at this time, he was 16 years old, so obviously still in high school. And what LeBron James, the way he answers the question to the guys, I was unguardable, and he basically said, he dominated the run and, busted ass and all that kind of stuff, right? So there's been a little bit of debate online because you got the take of Ron Artest, who was there, who talks about it, who speaks kind of more favorably about LeBron, doing this and doing that. Then you got Antwan Walker, who gives somewhat of a little bit of different spin on it. He says LeBron did fine, but what he did was he added a little context to it. He said that LeBron came on towards the end because they wouldn't let young guys who aren't in the league and aren't established and who were just new to those runs that they have and just play like in the beginning or play in the middle, where it's most intense and where everybody, no one's tired, all that type of stuff. And then LeBron kind of came in towards the end and they allowed him to run, and he's talking about, how he dominated and so on. So Antwan Walker said, he basically said that LeBron's exaggerating a little bit. He said that I got a couple buckets, but he making it sound like, he's exaggerating. But he said, no, he ain't bust MJ behind it or nothing like that. And now, just giving my 2 cents on it, I think it's very important that when you're looking at, when you're trying to decide what really happened in situations like that, what you do is you go based off of the history of the people you're talking about. Typically what they do, what you know about their character, and in the past, how they tend to be. Are they truthful people? Are they guys who have a reputation of exaggerating? Are they guys who seem to be upfront, and then do you have a second or third person that kind of corroborates the story to decide, what was the truth? Try your best to decide what the truth is. And this is the way I see it. More than likely will probably happen. I think Antwan Walker's report makes sense because not only did it provide context, but also if you listen to LeBron James, what LeBron said, and you put both statements together, it's very true that LeBron probably played at the end. Because LeBron James said, he said, MJ and Antwan Walker, they didn't let young guys play, right? Like LeBron mentioned Antwan Walker specifically about that. And that's why Antwan was questioned about it. So that makes it sound like, yes, it's very true. The first part, especially the context Antwan Walker added, is probably true. The second part, LeBron James said, I was unguardable and whooped their ass. There's probably a bit of truth to that as well. I don't think LeBron would just completely flat out lie if he was trash out there. If he was trash out there, the story probably would have never even been brought up at all. So, and then when you look at LeBron James's game, especially a young LeBron James, who still hadn't developed, a jump shot, much of a jump shot, but he was athletic as hell, fast, young, and then you couple that with, him just coming into the situation and he has all this energy and excitement, Yeah, he probably was nice in transition because that's pretty much the one thing about LeBron James' game you would say was good. Is excellent. His transition. He probably got some transition buckets on the run and so on. But I think he and Jordan were actually on the same team, if I'm not mistaken. If you listen to Ron Artest's account of the situation. Now, where I think Antoine is probably right that LeBron exaggerated is in making it sound like he's completely unguardable, nobody can F with him and all of that. And for me, I think that's likely a situation where LeBron is probably exaggerating. And that's because I believe LeBron has a tendency to exaggerate things. We can go back to 2016 championship LeBron James won, where he's on camera, he's talking to his homies. I think it was Maverick Carter or maybe Rich Paul. They may have both been there or whatever. And then he says, that one right there, that one right there, coming down from 3-1 against the Golden State Warriors, who's supposedly the greatest team ever. All of these different things are just so questionable. Because if you think just a record makes you the greatest team of all time, it's like, come on, man. Come on, bro. But what LeBron did was he said, that made me the greatest ever. That made him greatest of all time because you were down 3-1 to that team. And then you found, you and Kyrie Irving, because you kind of like are overlooking at Kyrie Irving's performances too. Kyrie Irving will put on some of the most unbelievable performances that I've seen, especially in those last two games. And we're going to skip over the fact that Draymond was kind of taken out of a game in order to start the return run. And then we got to look at the fact that the games were just dead even close. Whatever the case may be. I felt LeBron exaggerated the significance of that particular win. Me personally, and the reason is people act like coming back from being down is the greatest thing you can do. And oftentimes real greatness, true greatness, which isn't sweeping a team, gets written off as you were just dominant and maybe the competition wasn't that good. And I think that's just, to be blunt, I think that's retarded thinking. If you look throughout history at different teams, you look at the 83 76ers, for example, who go throughout the whole playoffs and lost one game throughout the whole playoffs. They go through the Milwaukee Bucks, who I think they lost the one game to. But then after that, they had to go through Celtics, Lakers, and I forget the other team or whatever. I don't have it in front of me right now. But Moses Malone described it as 4, 4, and 4. And then you get to the Lakers and you sweep them. That's actually real dominance. And those are the things that make you, as a team, the greatest. But people want to act like, first of all, you got yourself in a hole. Which means, if you're down 3-1, that means at some point you were being dominated. You were being dominated. And then things turn around. How is that greater? Somebody explain to me how winning the 7 games is greater than sweeping somebody 4-0. We can look at the Lakers run, 2001. They had to go through, I think they went through, I know they went through Sacramento and they went through San Antonio. May have been Portland, I don't know. Portland, I may have been, I think, a couple years before that, where they had to come back from behind to beat Portland. That wasn't that year. But the Lakers of 2001 were undefeated. 4, 4-4. The first loss was to the Sixers in game 1, where Iverson just had to score. He had to have this otherworldly experience to score damn near 48 points or something like that in game 1. And the Sixers won that game, and after that, the Sixers got swept. It was a gentleman's sweep where Lakers took the next 4. How is LeBron James, first of all, not seeing any damn competition until you got to the finals? Because first you playing Atlanta Hawks, you playing scared ass DeMar DeRozan led and Kyle Lowry led freaking Raptors team, and other just teams that weren't like, I mean, come on. And then you get to the Warriors, a team that really, like, people act like these Warriors, especially 2015 and 14 and so on, were so more better stacked than the Cavs. And it's like, it's laughable. Because, like, let's look at the 2 so-called big threes on each team. You got LeBron James, you got Kyrie Irving, you got Kevin Love. Those are the big threes. It's filled in with J.R. Smith and, Shump and all those other guys. Dellavedova, all of them, the bench players, all of that. But let's look at the big 3 of LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Love. Look at the main 3 of Golden State: Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, and Steph Curry. If you just looked at the big 3, who's better? Everybody swear up and down. I can't find too many people that's going to tell you Steph Curry's better than LeBron. All right, so you got LeBron James. Kyrie Irving versus Klay Thompson. I swear I can't find not too many people that's going to tell you that Klay Thompson is better than Kyrie Irving. Who's going to tell you that? Nobody. And then thirdly, back then, who's going to tell you that Draymond Green is better than Kevin Love? Nobody going to tell you that. So Cleveland had the better team. If you're going to start with the big 3. Now, you can argue Andre Iguodala coming out, they got a better 6-man. And then they had also Livingston, right? If you want to argue the bench, okay, maybe. But the bench that Cleveland had wasn't no chopped liver. I like Green, what you call it? Forgot the boy name, man. The veterans they had, If you look at Cleveland, but people act as if because Cleveland didn't have a better record in the regular season that somehow the Warriors were a better team. No. Warriors had a better season record because, number one, they took the regular season way more serious, and they run an actual system. Golden State Warriors run a system. LeBron James in Cleveland, like LeBron, was very casual about the regular season. He ain't worried about being the first seed, second seed, whatever, because getting through the playoffs is relatively easy in the East. Number one. Then number two, they don't run a system, man. LeBron James season, that's my main criticism against him. Besides maybe a few years in Miami, they don't run a system. Now, they kind of did early on in 07, was okay. But even that, it's like, it's just LeBron James, a lot of ISO ball. Everything is just centered around his decision-making. If he decides to set a guy up with a pass, gives it to Kyle Korver, or he decides to, drive and dish, draw and kick, draw a second guy to him and kick, and then let Kyrie go off. It's like, bro, if you just watch Golden State always operated more like a well-oiled machine than Cleveland. Cleveland was just straight cheesy, man, the way they played ball, and that's the reason why they had worse regular season. This is why typically Golden State would wipe the floor with Cleveland. And this is why, people act like the next season is a foregone conclusion that Golden State would have lost to Cleveland the next year, 2016, had they not got KD. I don't think so. I think Golden State would have still whooped their ass. I think they'd have whooped their ass way more just because they would have the revenge factor. Golden State was always better because of the way they play ball, the brand of ball, man. It was just a better brand of basketball, and they played better defense. Whereas Cleveland, all right, we got LeBron, we got Kyrie, we just going, it's like, come on, man. Like, anybody really looking for real? And because they cheesy and they win, somehow we find a way to give LeBron extra credit for that. It's because LeBron is putting them on his back and they doing this and that. Like, this type of stuff is crazy, man. No offense to LeBron. Like, he is an all-time great. But, like, if we really watch those teams, man, like... So I think because LeBron exaggerated that, and he has a tendency to exaggerate, he probably likely exaggerated what happened during that run. It's probably what happened, man. Like, I don't know, I wasn't there, but going based on, like, the history of these guys, he probably exaggerated that, man. And Ron Artest being the type of guy that he is, he's not going to take credit away from LeBron. He's going, he's going to big him up because Artest is like that. You rarely hear Artest speak. He's not one of the players that speak negatively about anybody, whether it's Kobe, whether it's MJ, whatever. He always gives a good spin. So he's like, you got to take that into consideration with him too. Whereas Antwan Walker is more prone to be blunt. Like, he's actually been an analyst on some of the shows. He used to come on FS1, and analysts are just more blunt, and he seems like a more blunt type of guy. But that's just me. I kind of lean more towards probably what Antwan Walker saying that LeBron exaggerated. So tell me what y'all think, man. Peace out.